Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Newsmakers Journal of the Plague Year. I'm Jerry Roberts. It is Friday, the 13th of November, and so appropriately, we have on Gwen Lurie, editor-in-chief of the Montecito Journal. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Great. That was quite an introduction. Thank you.
Well, we'll see how it goes,
Yeah.
Well, it was actually just about a year ago, although it seems like 8 or 10 years ago,
Yeah.
that you acquired the Montecito Journal, and you were on our show on December 5th, my first exclusive interview with you to talk about it. So how are things going? What do where are you a year out?
We're good. It's been obviously a really hard year for everybody. Not the year I expected to be pushing a business forward and building it further. But actually we're doing okay. I mean, we're fortunate that real estate in Montecito has been so hot, and that's obviously helped our revenue because real estate ads are are really important to us. And it's been, very lively here in that front. So that's been good. And we just launched our new website, montecitojournal.net, the one you've been ribbing me about for 8
But
months.
I can't even see what's in the paper yet, because your paper comes out on Thursday, right? And then you put the content in on the website on Monday. Why is that?
We're actually putting it on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Because it's the economic reality of the newspaper business, Jerry. I mean, you know this. Like, we're really trying not to cannibalize ourselves. If people don't pick up the paper, we're not going to get the advertising that we need, which is important to the businesses here. I mean, it's really important to the businesses here. So, I mean, our website is going to be the archive of the paper. So we've archived a year of newspapers. Every 6 weeks, we're trying to get through another year every 6 weeks. So
Well, how far back do you have to, how many years of archive do you have to do?
we're going to try to go back 10 years.
Okay. All right.
And
sure, I know that for
it's a lot of work, for sure. It's a lot harder than I would have expected, and more expensive. So yeah, it's hard. So we're doing that, but we're really proud of it, and I hope people check it out. And if you go online, we also are sending out the Mojo still twice weekly.
Your email.
It's our email newsletter. And so that's been great. And that's been a really good tool, as is online, for breaking sort of up-to-date news, and will be really helpful if there's ever any sort of emergency in this community. And that is one of the reasons that we felt we needed it more than anything. And then we're going to be developing content specifically for the web as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I have to say, I think it's vastly improved as a newspaper. The design is better. The content seems smarter and more ambitious. More, I mean, you dove into the supervisor's race. For example, you did a lot of stuff on the water in Montecito, and so I thought the enterprise reporting is really improved. And then you have some other products that you're looking at for, I guess, revenue and public service, and combination of both. What are they?
So we have just uploaded to the printer our first ever Giving List book.
What's it called?
Called The Giving List. And the Giving List program, the first year we've included 52 local nonprofits. And there are 3 components to it. There's a book that will be in the US mail on the 20th, and hopefully 2 days later will be in people's mailboxes. And it's a book that that we have written a narrative for every one of the 52 nonprofits, and we put them into categories of giving, and every category of giving is introduced by a letter from a major philanthropist in Santa Barbara. It's Santa Barbara, not Montecito. And the idea is to be a really strong portal to the vital nonprofits in this community, 501c3s, for the donor um, population here.
Yeah, well, that's,
So
I mean, that's an important issue for you guys, and that's a smart thing to do to try to own that space. Now, is there an online component of that?
yeah, so as of January 1st, it will be thegivinglist.com. Every nonprofit will have its own page. It will be updated once a month. We're going to write the update, so it's not just going to be a press release. It's going to be, again, a narrative. And you're going to be able to link, donors will be able to link to the nonprofits directly to set up a Zoom call to discuss giving to that nonprofit, either with the head of the nonprofit or with the development director for that organization. Because anyone who's worked in, with NGOs knows, or for an NGO knows that you've got to, if you can get someone in the room, if you can get them on the phone, if you can get them to a lunch, you're much more likely to get a donation.
You can
So
get them on Zoom. Now it remains to be proven whether that holds if you get them on Zoom. though.
well, the bigger idea is that major donors they have questions to ask. They're smart, practiced givers, and they have questions they need answered. They're not just going to write a check, most of them, for 25 grand. The other wonderful thing in the giving list, which I'd love to announce, is that our partner in this is Montecito Bank and Trust. So an organization that is really committed to encouraging businesses to get involved in the business of philanthropy. And as a business, they're very involved in philanthropy. So that's been a really great partnership. And then one of our biggest sponsors is Silverhorn, who, and they're our biggest sponsors, not in terms, just in terms
Yeah,
of what
the
they
jeweler.
offer. Well, Silverhorn provides jewels to events all over the county all year, every year. They are always giving. And so what they've offered to do is, if you walk into Silverhorn for this year of the giving list and say you're there for the giving list, they will give 15% of the purchase price to whichever organization you pick.
Wow. Okay.
And that's a lot of money, because those are some nice pieces of jewelry.
So is it actually a book? Is it a hardcover or slick
It's not a
cover?
hardcover, but it's kind of a plastic coated. It's actually a beautiful book. It's bends, but it's as hard as it can get with and still bend.
Yeah.
But it's I think you'll think it's rather beautiful. I'll get you one as soon as it comes out.
And the business model is subscriptions or sponsorships or what people pay to get in?
Nonprofit is paying to be in it. We have many foundations that have paid for nonprofits that couldn't afford to be in it. The other thing we're doing is every nonprofit that's in it, we will be, writing a big feature about that nonprofit over the course of the year. So every week, that's why we chose 52 organizations. So every week there will be another major feature about that organization. And by the way, it does not preclude us from covering all other nonprofits as well, which we plan to do. And in the back of the book, there is an index of every nonprofit, the name of every nonprofit in the county.
How many is that? How many is that?
Well, if you count religious nonprofits, which I think it's like 2,500 or 2,400.
Wow.
I mean, it's a big list. And I say in the introduction of the book, this is by no means means to suggest that these are the only important or vital nonprofits in this county. We tried to do a really good cross section of types of services and, nonprofits that are deeply rooted. Next year, we hope to be able to take, a fair number more than we were able to do this year, but this was our pilot year. So.
And are you going to franchise this nationally? Like, I don't know, what's the chicken place that always has the line on? Anyway, are you going to? I'm sorry, I'm just going off on some senior citizen thing. Are you going to franchise this nationally?
We have trademarked it. We're going to be in cities next year, besides Santa Barbara. And, we really believe that in our town, particularly, that some of the most interesting stories, human stories, are the ones coming out of the work being done by these nonprofits, which is a really, important safety net for this community and all communities. So yeah, we're going to be pushing it out and hiring a whole separate staff for that. So it has its own staff, and Yeah, we're excited about it. It's been
Yeah.
really, and you know, the other thing, just to end this, you might want to move on, but um, every narrative in the book, you'll notice, for example, take Heal the Ocean. It doesn't say heal the ocean at the top. It says pragmatic environmentalism. And then you read the narrative and you read the, you know, the statement by the community spokesperson and you see the list of supporters. And then you get to the bottom and it says heal the ocean, because our strong belief, and this was reinforced by meeting with every one of these nonprofits to do this book, is that people think they know what these nonprofits do, and they really do so much more than you think. So we wanted people to read everything and not presume that they know. So,
Yeah.
so
Nice. And then you have another magazine in the works. Is this correct? Is my information correct on this?
we are launching in the spring, the RIV, which
So
is
RIV,
RIV.
RIV,
Yes.
not the rib.
Not to be confused with the adult bookstore downtown. It is the RIV. It is Design and Architecture in the American Riviera. It's relevance, irreverence, and vernacular. And the idea is to take the Central Coast, put our imprimatur on the history and the place moving forward in terms of design and architecture, and how it resonates all over the world, actually. And you know, there's a lot going on in design, and a big cross section between design and politics and human values. And our feeling is, and sort of meant to be a disruptor magazine, in the sense that most design magazines are pretty thin and pretty advertorial. And this is going to have some real opinion in it. It's going to have some real writing in it. And it's going to have a still sort
Well,
of.
is it like Architectural Digest? I mean, it's not like home porn. Is that what it
It's
is?
going to have that element, but it's absolutely not like Architecture Digest. It's kind of a response to what we think that is not. You know, that Architecture Digest is not how real people live. I don't think anyone buys Architecture Digest to read an interesting story. I think they want the visual porn, which we will deliver on, but we're going to have the other piece too.
All right. So we got the newspaper, you got the website, you have the giving list, you have the RIV, and this is all what under what business
Montecito
umbrella?
Journal Media Group.
Montecito Journal Media Group. Okay. All right. And then, you know, the poor stepsister here, the Sentinel, your weekly Santa Barbara thing. What's happening with that?
So that we're going to take a real serious look at in 2021. I mean, we had to sort of go one step at a time, and I don't think COVID helped any of us move through things as quickly as we would have liked. So, you know, our big mission was to get you off our back about the website and get that up. That was our first mission for this year, which now we've done and we're thrilled about. And we needed that in place for the giving list too.
The newsmakers bump. Boy, wait till you see how many people flock to that website after.
Well, I'm actually starting a talk show on our digital site called Newsmakers with Gwen Lurie. I think you'll.
Hey, you can't.
Anyway, yeah, so, but we are going to be investing more time and resources in the Sentinel in the next year.
All right. Okay. So, Citizen Lurie, that's what we got to go here. Okay, we're on to that. All right, let me ask you a little bit about the news. So, something I didn't write a lot about, but seemed like was a really divisive and conflict-ridden political issue, was this bond issue about the Cold Spring School. What was going on with that? Why were some people so upset? I was all over social media, Facebook, Nextdoor. I kept reading about it. Newshawk. What was going on with that?
Well, first of all, bonds are not popular. They've never been popular in Montecito. I think most people don't want their taxes raised. And the perception is that our schools here have plenty of money because we are community funded schools. So, however, it's really expensive to maintain the facilities of a school. And, But there have been some long-standing issues at Cold Springs, I think, that, I'm sorry, the sun is like, I keep moving this around to get out of the sun. There have been some long-standing issues at Cold Springs regarding fiscal management over the last 20 years. This is not new. Frankly, this predates this superintendent's arrival at the school. But there are some parents who I think have some real issues, and they kind of lumped it in with this bond.
Your dog is photobombing you at the.
And my dog has his cone of shame on because he has a bad foot, and so he's going to let himself in now. Okay, he let himself in. There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
So long running, but it seemed to me, and maybe I'm completely off base here, but there's probably a minority of people in Montecito who have kids in public school, and the people who don't have kids in public school are like, go away. We don't want to.
You know what? I think, and I say this just from experience, having been on the MUS school board and having been on it during our bond, which was Measure Q, and it was a much bigger bond than this bond. And I do think that on school board, one of the really frustrating things is people tend to not pay attention, especially if you don't have kids in the school. You tend to not pay attention to what's going on until it's on the ballot. And so, I mean, I know in our case, we held all these public meetings, no one came. And then in the end, we had a really disgruntled group of neighbors who were not happy with what we're doing and just blew us away in their anti-bond campaign, and that was pre-Nextdoor. Now, I don't know if you look at Nextdoor, but I look at it and I just like, it totally stresses me out because I read it and I know half the things that people are saying are not. I mean, it's great if you lose a dog or you want to give away a TV set or someone's a stranger's in the neighborhood and you want to warn people that there's something going on, but it really is just another very hyper local social media opportunity to say whatever you want to say. And so what we sort of decided to do, I don't know if you read this version of the paper, but there were so many charges being leveled at the school and the school board and the superintendent. And so what I did was I went on Nextdoor and all of the correspondence we had received, some of which we printed, most of which we printed, but a couple that were just so ad hominem and leveled charges that to me didn't even seem correct. I took all of those charges and I just asked Amy in a Q&A point blank, can you speak to this? Can you speak to this? Can you speak to this?
Amy,
Alzina, Dr. Alzina,
right, superintendent.
So we just, we think our role is to try to give the voters the best information we can give them and let them decide what they want to do. We gave it a qualified endorsement.
Did you endorse it?
Give it a qualified endorsement because I do believe they need the money. I do believe that their bungalows, their temporary, rooms are dilapidated and not in good shape and they need the money. But I also think that they could have done better over the last 10 years in managing their funds and in building.
It needed what, 55%, and it got 52 or something?
52 something, like 52-38 or something like that.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I think they're probably disappointed.
And then the shocker in the Montecito Sanitary District. That was, did you get involved much in that, endorsing in that one?
Well, we endorsed the three. We did not endorse Gary Fuller, not because we had anything against him. It seemed like a really smart, thoughtful, good guy. I didn't actually, Nick Scow did that interview. I didn't do that interview, but I will say when Nick Scow called him, he was sort of trying to remember exactly what office he was running for. So, I mean, I think it was kind of I'm sure he knew, but it was kind of a funny, and we just sort of thought, we didn't endorse him finally, but I think it's okay to have someone who's not part of the inside group coming in.
Yeah, Nick Welsh is doing a big touchdown dance about that, saying it was his endorsement that made the difference. So you may want to connect with him.
Might have been.
Huh?
It might have been.
It might have been.
His
All right.
It clearly holds more weight than mine.
Well, I don't know about that, but okay. So what do we think about the Santa Barbara mayor's race going forward? At this point, nobody's paid the slightest bit of attention to it. The incumbent Kathy Murillo's already started campaigning very quietly. She got on the St. Kathy end of a 6-1 vote about evictions, so she can, hold herself up to all the renters. But are you going to get involved in that? Do you have much interest in what's going on at City Hall going forward in 2021?
Read my paper next week.
Well, I can't because you don't deliver it to me anymore.
I'll bring you one.
What are you going to
I
say?
feel that this is a trick question.
No, it's not a trick question. I'm asking you as a.
Of course I'm concerned. I mean, I'm not going to get involved politically.
No, I don't mean politically. I mean the paper.
Of course.
Covering it.
In that, I think that our city needs strong leadership, and I think that's been really clear in the last few years. I think that's this is an important time for rebuilding downtown Santa Barbara. It's sad to go to certain areas downtown Santa Barbara, and there are big problems. There's big problems with the homelessness. There's big problems with how friendly is that city to people who want to start businesses there. How long does it take to get a permit, and what kind of hoops do you have to jump through? I think that there needs to be a bringing together of some of the best and the bright. And we have amazing entrepreneurs and builders and designers and urban designers. And we really have an embarrassment of riches in this town of smart people who are ready to serve. And I think someone needs to be able to really tap that.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't made any secret that I've been disappointed in her leadership. I just don't feel like the energy's there or the vision's there for the kinds of problems that we're confronting, which are really now particularly epical. And
well, one of the problems, I'm sorry, I keep moving my.
No, it's kind of an interesting look.
Yeah, here, maybe if I turn this way. No, it's not working. Look, Kathy, I don't know Kathy well, and every encounter I've had with her has always been pleasant. And she seems like a really nice person who cares about Santa Barbara. I think that, I think the question is, what kind of leadership do we need right now to get us to that next place? And I do think we need strong leadership. And also, I think most cities, it's either like a strong mayoral leadership and city council leadership, or it's a city manager who leads. And I think this is kind of like
neither fish nor fowl.
Yeah, it seems like somewhere in the middle where no one's taking responsibility for having the vision. And even though, you don't get rich by being the mayor, and it's in some ways a really complicated job, especially now, I do think that it's a really powerful, I think it's a powerful megaphone. And I think you could, if you really take that seriously, I think you can make a big difference.
I mean, I think it can be. And I think if you look back at some of the mayor, I mean, Sheila Lodge, certainly Harriet Miller did that and made more of the job than what's in the charter. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So tell me real quick, how is business doing in Montecito? What's going on at Coast Village Road and Upper Village?
Well, Coast Village Road is hopping. I mean, stores are doing great. Restaurants are through the roof. So, I mean, I have you driven down Coast Village Road on a Thursday or Friday?
I haven't left the house, Gwen, except to go pick up my run over.
Decide to go in the car if you want to just take a drive. It really is. It's like happening. It's hard to get a reservation on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
Indoor dining, or is it
outdoor dining? A lot of the restaurants on Coast Village Road have, frankly, more dining outside than they ever had inside. So, I mean, it really, it's been shockingly, and we have so many visitors here. I don't know what the number is now. Maybe 350 homes have sold since the beginning of COVID, and wow. So it's funny. Les and I were at our local Japanese restaurant eating outside, and Les was parking, and there was a parking space right outside, and this car was behind him on his tail. And so he kind of pulled over to let them pass, and they swung into the spot.
They're definitely a visitor. They're definitely.
And Les just looks at me and goes, LA.
Could be San Francisco.
So, I mean, I don't want to become that person, and I am from LA originally, but I do think that it takes a while to realize that, like, you might see that person later that day somewhere in town, and probably better to be polite. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are here. A lot of people have made this. This is what they're calling a Zoom town, I guess.
That's good. Zoom town. And then we've been talking a lot about Santa Barbara Unified and Goleta Union schools. Montecito Union went back, and we haven't heard much. I mean, everything's
We're
good.
going to do a big piece on Montecito Union going back, not this week, but I think the following week, about their, outdoor spaces and their small classes. I think they're doing an amazing job.
Oh, it's working. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's working. They had one scare and sent people home, and it was a false scare, and they went back the next day. And I think, Cold Spring seems to be doing really well too. So I'm just happy for the little kids that they can, it's really important. I mean, I feel so sad for my teenage daughters. It's not been a fun year.
Yeah, it's difficult. And then last thing, of course, I have to ask you, what's new on the Harry and Meghan beat? What? Did you see them at Lucky's? I read that they're at Lucky's and they're renting out their house by the day. Things. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, come on!
You know what? I really
you
don't.
You are the hometown editor.
I am not a big royal watcher. I think we have so many stars here, famous and not famous. And I'm not just saying that. I just don't think this community has a really strong appetite for royal watching. Like, I think people have seen them. I've not seen them. My husband saw him out hiking. He saw her pushing her prom on Coast Village Road.
Yeah.
I've heard about some sightings. I actually think he saw her pushing the prom prior to the outing of them. So, but I hope they're happy here. I hope to meet them sometime. I mean, I'd love for them to look at this giving list book.
They ought to be in the giving list. They totally should be in the
Well, you know what? Hopefully next year they'll want to be a part of it. They'll see it this year. I think this year's book will give people a lot of comfort that we're taking it very seriously and that we're doing, first rate.
Do you get calls from the British tabs and the global media about them? You're the hometown editor. What's going on? How much is that? How extensive is that? That you hear from other.
We've gotten a bunch of calls. One London newspaper, I think she was writing for the Sun or something. It was like a Murdoch, one of the Murdoch papers. And she said, so what do people in Montecito think about the fact that they're doing these live, chats from their house and doing these, does it bother them that they're out there commenting on politics? And I said, no, half the people here comment on politics. I said, there are live Zooms happening from half the houses in Montecito every day. Like, no one would ever judge them about that. So, that was kind of, but that's kind of one of the more common, like they're always looking for you to say something that
they can then, put into a headline. That's kind of what I do. So, yeah. You
can relate.
All right.
Should I tell you one other quick funny story?
Sure.
So this is we're writing about too, but this is relevant to the Meghan and Harry and kind of the celeb moment in Montecito. I was sitting having coffee with some friends at Pierre Lafond outside. And did I tell you this story? There's two men kind of having this argument, and then the sheriffs drove up, and before we knew it, they were arresting one of the guys. And the sheriff drove off with one of the guys. They were searching his cars and they were talking to him for a long time, and they drove off with him. And then I walked over to the other guy who was still there, and I said, what was that about? And he said, who are you? And I said, I work for the Montecito Journal. And he said, oh, well, I can't give you my name, but he was a stalker who was stalking one of your more well-known people who had also apparently exposed himself on the beach.
Oh my goodness. Did you put this in the paper?
4 days in a row. So we're writing about this now. Nick met with that guy who's a PI, who is he's a former Santa Barbara police officer who now is a PI who hunts down these stalkers.
See, that's good. That's the way, you're on the street, you're out there, you're getting stories, phoned in the city desk. Nick's there with
a real
the door on, typing, doing the rewrite thing. That's good. All right, Gwen Lurie. Thank you so much. Building the media empire, I think is the headline for this one. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for checking in.
All right, bye.